Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Lumera Morning Insights. The topic this morning is digital participant activation. And in my experience, it does not matter what kind of pension provider I talk to, pension fund or life pension company, it's always the same. There are often big backlogs for digitalization and participation activation, or big plans on digitalization and customer journeys, but we'll soon get around to it. And that is understandable, because there's always time-consuming things to do in the back-end system or to get things working in business as usual. So it's hard to prioritize great digital customer journeys and so forth. So let us be inspired this morning from our three speakers, which I will introduce in a moment. And remember, sometimes it's better to let others assist than it gets done. It's not always not invented here. We at Lumera has done this morning insight session since 2013. And the purpose is inspiration and, of course, to share experiences with pension provider, clients, and partners all over Europe. Today, we invite life and pensions companies from all over Europe, where we started out from Sweden, worked our way to Norway, and now we work with many countries. So let's take this opportunity to discuss hot topics on the industry for 1 hour this morning. My name is Peter Roos, and I work in international business development and sales at Lumera. And this morning, I'm honored to be your host. So, what is digital participant activation? We've tried to define it like a strategy. A participant activation strategy is a set of actions to take in order to incite your customers, which are end users in this case, to move on to the next stages of their life cycle as efficiently as possible. So it's a small topic inside of advice and everything. It seems like there are several actions or situations that pension providers need to support participants with. Sometimes it's commercial, and sometimes it's necessary for the participants. These are some examples. First out, and the most worked with, I would believe, are the informed decisions, helping participants to make informed decisions. It could be through advice, or if you're not ready to go that far, it could be through guidance, walkthroughs, so that the participants get all the steps before they make a decision of a life insurance, of a money manager, or whatever it is. In Norway and Sweden, we have the need to move pension capital or change money manager. It could be commercial, but it's the participants that need to act to make it happen in different ways. Participant activation would be one of the tools to get there. We have the need for the participants to feel in control, be in control, maybe would be a better word, but definitely feel in control. And to do that, you need to be informed and feel that it's your decision at the end that's made. Also for that, you can use participant activation. We have the classic question with providing value to our participants, to our retirees, or soon to be, before disbursements or before there are any claims. And of course, happy customers or pleasant journeys. We have expectations from participants today, used from Netflix, e-commerce, and so forth, to have pleasant journeys while they're engaged in their customer journeys. Also for that, participant activation is key. Although I love to talk, I'm not going to talk that much more. We have three great presenters this morning. First out will be Tim H. Berggraf, who's an associate partner for Ernst & Young, based in the Netherlands. He will tell us about an academic approach to digital participant activation. He will also tell about behavioral change and gamification. What is it and how can it be used in the life and pension industry? After that, we move to Ralf Wittmann. He's the founder and CEO of Rescain, based in Austria. Value creation and visualizing risk for participants. We will talk a lot about that later on as well. And last but not least out is Brendan Kelly. He's head of provider sales at Benify. Although Benify, as many of you know, are a Swedish original company, they are actually in very many countries right now, and Brendan himself is based in the UK. So that's a kind of a new perspective for many of the listeners today. So, let me start with you, Tim. How are you doing this morning?
Yes, very well. Thank you for the intro on this. And first of all, thank you everybody who is willing to spend time and listen to my story. So yeah, I'll take you to what happens in that brain of ours when people try to activate us, and specifically geared towards retirement plans. So this is about changing financial behavior. Actually, quite tough, to be honest. So, but I'll guide you through in the next 10 minutes or so. Activation. Well, you know, activation is about how do I get people to do something that I would really like them to do. And we know that people do things basically for two reasons. First of all, they like doing it. And that's in academic terms called motivation. And that motivation can be either high or low. And then there's the other axis, and that's how difficult can I actually do it? So it's not, do I want to do it, but do I believe I can do it? So is it, do I think it's difficult, or do I think it's easy? And keep in mind, do I think it's easy? Because it doesn't necessarily has to be that way. So if you look at pensions, unfortunately, that's where we are at the left bottom of the screen. People think it's very difficult. And well, to say the least, it's not very sexy. So this is why a lot of people have low motivation. At least that's what we think. And I'll show you later that it seems to be the case. So, and we know from the behavioral change theories, for example, the one from B.J. Fogg from Stanford, if people have low motivation and they have low abilities, they're not very likely to change their behavior. So that's really a difficult thing. Now, how can you influence motivation? Now, I could talk an hour just about motivation, but very briefly, you do things that you do usually because of six emotions. Either you get pleasure or you're afraid of pain if you're not doing it. You have hope that it brings something, or you fear something if you don't. And that's very important, especially for the youngsters these days, social acceptance and social rejection. So you don't want to be the person that does anything different from the rest, okay? Because that wouldn't look nice on Instagram. So, and then at the right, how do I make things, so what is the important drivers, how people think if something is difficult or not? Well, that's the effort. So how much time is this going to take me? How much money is this going to cost me? How much effort, either physical or mental, is this going to cost me? That's why it's so tough to lose 30 kilos doing exercises, because that takes a huge amount of physical effort, let alone the time. And then there's the social context and if it fits in my routine. So this is, in general terms, behavior. You can change that either with a signal, which is very small, or a spark, that's where you light something up and then it starts to burn, or in the case of pensions, you're going to need to provide a lot of support. So then what triggers this activity? There was an interesting study earlier this year. When do people start collecting information on their retirement? And it turned out that these are not necessarily social demographic factors only. So it does age, education, gender, and income, they do care. So they do make a difference, but this study found not necessarily on its own. Those social demographic factors help us in our brain to come to both emotional and cognitive factors that actually determine whether we're going to do something. So it shapes our beliefs. It shapes our image on retirement. And that means is the main driver is something if I'm going to be collecting something. So cognitive factors are financial literacy. So how much experience do I have? How easy do I think it is in terms of behavior change? The tendency to plan, some people plan a lot. They plan vacations in 3 years' time, and other people don't plan anything. They just go to the airport and take a plane. And there's the risk preference of people. Some people are more risk averse than others, clearly, and that also depends. That defines our beliefs and therefore our behaviors. And very important, these are emotional factors. Trust. If I don't trust the industry, that's something that we're going through in the Netherlands at the moment. Trust in financial institutions is extremely low. So if trust is extremely low, then it's extremely difficult to get people to be activated because they don't believe it. And then there's retirement anxiety. It would also be, it will almost be funny, but retirement anxiety is that people don't look at their retirement because they're afraid what they're going to see if they do look. So this is why they rather don't look. So this is the ostrich effect. Okay, so this defines our beliefs, such as the receptiveness of ours, the severity of the situation. So how much benefit does it bring if I look into this? We're pretty good at thinking about barriers on and then let go. And clearly, there's always a certain level of self-efficacy. And then, and finally, these things define our intention to collect. And now this is very interesting because you can have a great website, but if people don't log on, that's what you have a problem. So this is about the first phase. How do you get people to your website? How do you get them there? The financial motivation, you saw the matrix earlier, with the left bottom being tough and the right top is where everybody is with high motivation and high abilities. Well, this is an example. We measure this for employers. So we measure how much of your people are in which quadrants. And this is a real case. So what you see here, that out of the 700 people or so, 380 are at the left bottom. That's pretty bad news because that's roughly half of the group, which says I'm not very motivated, and I think it's very difficult. So actually, you'd like everybody to be at the right top with 144 people already there, where people say, it isn't really that difficult. Actually, it's quite easy, and is also fun. Well, maybe that's theory that pensions will ever be fun, but you can make it fun, and that's why you use gamification. But for now, look at this graph, and you'll see two things. You'll see we can measure this, so we can define the problem group. We can define the people you should be motivating, because these are 380 real people, real employees of an employer. So on gamification is a great concept. Basically, it is the use of game designs in non-game context. You must be aware of this. If you have kids, for example, and you want them to do something, what do you say? You say the first one that's ready gets an ice cream. So then they start running whatever they need to do. They don't want to do it, but they're doing it because they want the ice cream. Now that's gamification. So we have the game concept, which is prize. You can win a prize or a prize, and that's really what you want to have. That's why you start doing something that you really don't want to do, but you want to get the prize. So an example is we want to get people to the website. If you log on, you get 50 euros. That's a great gamification example. That next to that, there's gaming. There's games, and there's a lot of work around that. Play and game is actually pretty much stronger than culture, and we know that since Huizinga in 1937 produced his first book on this. We all love to play games, with the ultimate game being war, about being the winner. But that's the bad version. But still, we love to play games. And in the middle of that is serious gaming. So you apply context of games in order to change actual behavior. And then at the right top, that's where you see employee motivation. This is about how can I motivate people to show me a better performance. And you see some of these circles overlap. So work gamification is where we gamify the work. So in order to increase motivation, playing and employee motivation is fun at the office. That's at the heart of your organizational culture, making it fun. And then right in the middle where the three things overlap, that's where we see serious activation. So this is how we improve employee motivations through serious gaming in the work context. Okay, I'd like to go on because this is a great topic. And as Peter said, it's a small topic, but it's a pretty big topic. Unfortunately, we only have 10 minutes. So, and I think I'm at my time. So, Peter, I need to give it back to you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tim. I just have one question for you. I mean, gamification has been used many times over in many industries, and even in life and pension industry for quite some time. But you being a consulting, working with a lot of different pension providers and so forth, if you have any, do you know different levels of gamification in different countries? Do you have any feel for that?
Yeah, I do. And you know, those countries that have the biggest egos usually also have the best returns in gamified concepts. You know, so I'm from the Netherlands. We all want to, you know, we all want to be average. So we're not really a country where people enjoy being the employee of the month and they can park in front of the car of the building. But we also, but so if I would be able to park, everybody would say, oh, you know, there's the show off that now gets to park there. Boo. So that won't work. But we also are aware that even within Europe, we have differences where some, especially if it gets warmer and you go further south, that's usually where people get more ego, you know, more attached to their ego.
Yeah. One practice is to have auto-enrollment plans, or, you know, where the employer contributes as much as the employee, or some sort of gamification tools like that. But those are most common, those are very expensive for the employers sometimes. Do you have any examples of gamification tools you can use that wouldn't cost that much? Right. Or even that you can engage as a pension provider, for example?
Yeah. Yeah. Auto-enrollment, you know, auto-enrollment is sort of a safeguard. It is to make sure that we get enough people in. So, but that's not really, it's not activating me, because if I auto-enroll, then I'm in, so I don't need to do anything. So, and you're right, you roll everybody in, so that's quite costly. So there's another way of doing this. For example, if you would say, you know, you don't roll in, so you don't get the benefit. Well, for example, you don't get a pension. However, if you're willing to put in 5% of your pay voluntarily, then I'm willing to match that with another 5%. And if you do another 5, then I'm willing to match that with 2.5. Now, if you don't want to do it, then I don't want to do it. Because if you don't think it's important, then why would I be putting so much money in? So, and that's where gamification comes in. And especially the cognitive bias of FOMO, fear of missing out. Because I'm not getting the 7.5%, but my colleague does. So my colleague is doing the same work, same age, is getting more than I am. And that hurts in the right part, in the emotional part of my brain. And that's what we call fear of missing out. So that's an activation method that's very effectively, and that's also one of the gamified concepts.
Okay, one more question, Tim. I know that you are going through a reform in the Netherlands right now, going from changing the pension rights from defined benefit to defined contribution. Well, would you say that gamification would play a bigger or smaller, have a bigger or smaller impact after a reform?
Definitely bigger, because we're going from defined benefit to defined contribution. Well, in defined benefit, people they could just sit back and relax because it's being managed for them. There's usually very little they can change if they would even like to. So it's fine to sit back and relax because it's being managed for you and you get a promise. However, with the defined contribution plan, that's where people need to be actively engaged with their retirement. They need to make decisions, and those decisions will impact the actual outcome. So they need to be much more engaged. That's part of the legislation, by the way, in the Netherlands as well. Going forward, employers need to engage their people, otherwise the system would fail. And gamification is definitely following in that path, and we'll see more of that.
Sounds great. Thank you. Stay with us, Tim. We're going to get back to you in a while.
Okay.
Before we do that, we're going to speak to Ralph Wittman. Please, Ralph.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Is the voice okay? I hope so.
Yes.
So I'm talking about visualizing risks to customers and enabling informed insurance decisions. My name is Ralph Wittman, and I'm the CEO of Riskheim. Before we go into the topic, I give you a 2-minute overview about our company because you probably don't know us in the Nordics. We are a B2B software company, and we are focusing on everything around advisory and sales for the financial industry, which means everything from lead generation, advice to checkout, but for all sales channels that could also include chatbots. The company Riskheim is really focused on intelligence based on machine learnings. We use a lot of data, which you will see in a bit. And we are quite proud that we already work for 36 insurance and pension companies, banks and brokers in 9 markets. We do currently about 6 million advisory sessions are annually done via our solutions, and we are also quite proud that we won a few prizes in the past. So insurances, banks and brokers trust in our solutions, or I see already in 10 markets. I will talk about that later. But now to the use case. I will introduce Carla to you because it's easier to talk about a concrete example in the following slides. Carla is 30 years old. She's living independent. She's really focusing on boosting her career right now, but she wants to have a family in a few years. Carla has many questions relating to her financial future, which always relate to fears and dreams. So there's topics like that she wants to have a family later on, that she wants to afford a house, but she has also fears related to illness. What happens if I get seriously ill? Will it impact my pension, my life income? What we learned is that Carla doesn't understand what she needs in terms of there isn't that level of financial literacy which we all wanted to see. And she has little trust in the advice of the insurance company. But she's interested in her risks and dreams. So how can Carla make a rational decision if she doesn't understand her risks and needs, all those topics, and if she also doesn't understand the products? And on the other side, we see the insurance agent who has a big information advantage. So the question is, how can we increase trust into the advice of the insurance agent or the insurance software, which is giving automatic advice? And we can do that by providing numbers, work with facts, but also introduce elements like peer benchmarking, which is something like thinking about in the real world, looking at family and friends. So we, as Riskheim, we put Carla's risks and dreams at the center of our advisory products, and not the insurance products itself. So what we basically do, we support insurance companies in visualizing objective risks to their customers, making customers understand their risk preferences, and advising customers to achieve their wishes and dreams. So those 3 topics, object risks and wishes and dreams, are at the heart of our software. and are not a nice add-on. And this is really the core, and we will see in a bit, we only talk about insurance products at the very end of the process. So I brought you one example, the risk analysis, which is the focus of today. What do we do with this product? We calculate and visualize Scala's risks based on statistical data, and we do that for 8 life risks. So we have these data sources. It's in total 36 risks. It's global, very well-known data sources, and we have our own data models to calculate and make those risks comparable. And then what we do, we ask Scala a few questions. Do you do sports? Do you smoke? How old are you? And so forth. And with each question, we calculate your risk for accident, old age poverty, health risk or illness, death, various natural hazards, loss of the workplace, crime, and legal disputes. And then you see a couple of customer examples. We visualize those risks to Scala. This is a really important first step because this then increases the trust into the insurance recommendation. I brought you one example. This is now our white label solution, our demo solution, which we use to showcase it. I don't have the time now to do a live demo, but you can contact me afterwards and you can test it. So we ask Scala a question, for example, how is your family situation here? And with each answer, we adjust the risk calculation to the 8 risks. And we always calculate the risk relevance. This is basically a maximum loss scenario and the annual probability of occurrence. At the end, Scala gets a report which summarizes all her risks, and only then, at the very, very end, we come to the insurance advice. What we then basically do is we have the insurance products linked to the risks on top. So if you click on an insurance product, you get the feedback, which risk is covered by this product, or you click on a risk and you get the feedback, which insurance product is covering those risks. So we connect risks to products, but we also give examples and explanations in the products regarding why the product is important. Also from game theory, it's nudging, really important. We also show the non-recommended products, and with this prioritization into 4 categories, is really supporting the trust in the highly recommended and recommended products. Because if you put all the products to highly recommended, everyone would say, obviously the insurance company is telling me I need all products. So this categorization into 4 products is really crucial. When we talk about customer centricity, we mean, in our words, it means bringing risks and wishes and dreams into the focus of the advisory. And this then ends that the customer is understanding his risks. We learned that customers are thankful for this step. They trust more in the product recommendation, and the desire for protection is growing. And the nice thing is, this is then also resulting in a higher cross-selling ratio, higher average premiums, and decreasing churn rates. These are figures per year, by the way. Yeah, this is the last slide. Last but not least, a few pictures from the team here based in Vienna. Our mission is to create a customer-centric advisory of the future for and with our financial industry partners. Yeah, now I'm looking forward to some questions. Thank you very much for your attention.
And you will have them. You know, when it's time for retirement, or maybe a few years before, and especially when we have the economic situation like now, everyone is interested in having some advice and plan for their retirement. But how would this talking about risk, visualizing risk, stimulate younger people to engage and participate?
I think there's 3 questions behind it. So first of all, the younger generation, we really learned they love this kind of algorithms. It's like a psychological test. We give a few answers. They trust this kind of engines more than they trust the advisors. Yeah, this is the first really important. This fact-driven kind of advice, which takes a few minutes, can be done at home, is exactly what they are looking for. For the inflation topic, I would say we have another product, which is called the Wishes and Dreams Planner, which is now not included so much here, because the risk analysis is more talking about the biometric risks, or the core insurance risks. Nevertheless, you have the one risk was saying old age poverty, and this is relating to the pension protection. And we learned that this is the most relevant risk actually for the younger generation. If you ask them, they identify old age poverty as their main concern. It's higher than accident and illness. So this is a top risk, and we can also then analyze it, because this kind of analysis was done for hundreds of thousands of customers now, that the younger generation, if you can click on the risks and get more details. And the younger generation is clicking into old age poverty risk and is getting more detailed information for that one.
Okay. Yeah. Are there, strange question maybe, but are there any risks, visualizing risks? I mean, don't you scare the participants?
I think it's a super important question. It's crucial to do it in a neutral, scientific way. If you overdo it, you will create fear and scare participants, and they will reject it because they don't want to confront themselves with this kind of topic. So to make this kind of activation work, because it's a form of activation, because risks are pushed into the back of your mind. You're not running around, and if you're not sick and have fears all the time. So it's a way of activation, but the activation has to be done careful in a professional, scientific way. And this is what we learned. Actually, insurance customers expect from the insurance company, because the job of the insurance company is to protect them from risks. Yeah, it's only forgotten somehow.
You know, at least in Scandinavia, not the case maybe in Netherlands, but at least here, in my experience is that advisor insurance company compare prices, push prices, rather than talk about the actual what the products actually do, take care of risks. My picture of this is that it could really help the life and pension industry to get back to what it's really about handling risk. Would you agree? Would you agree on that?
100%. I founded the company because I was looking for a self-service case where I wanted to understand which kind of products do I need and what are the right coverages. I'm a person, I'm not interested in saving €3 per month on the household insurance. Yeah, I think this whole price comparison platform game is actually killing the industry, and it's yeah, I fully agree on that one.
Really appreciate that you took your time to be with us. Please stay, and we have some questions at the end of this Morning Insights as well. Let's leave over to Brendan and Benify and the success story. How have you been activating participants, Brendan?
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Thanks for inviting me along to share some successes from Benify. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Benify, We're a European-based software as a service provider. Now, our mission to be an independent provider of global benefit management and communication software. Now, what that means is that we want to help employers engage their employees through benefits, and we want them to use our software in order to achieve this. Now, Benify was founded in 2004 in Sweden, and the business grew from there across the Nordics into Europe. And then around 5 years ago, as organizations moved their HR solutions into the cloud with the likes of Workday and SuccessFactors, they came to us looking for support with creating more globally consistent benefit and reward experiences for their employees. Now, today, we're live in over 79 markets and 22 languages, providing solutions to over 1,700 clients and 2 million users. And we help our clients to provide personalized and relevant benefit and wellbeing experiences for their employees via both a web responsive portal and mobile app. Now, the client portals are branded to look and feel as if they're run in-house, and all the paper-based benefit administration for the employer-employee is removed with the introduction of a new modern digital experience. And what's more, it's not a one-size-fits-all portal. So our really powerful rules and filtering capabilities drive a personalized and relevant experience for each employee. And they have the convenience of being able to access and enroll in benefits which they're eligible for at any time, anywhere. And we see 72% of all logins coming through the mobile app. So with the experience of launching to thousands of customers and millions of employees across the globe, we've come up with a simple 3-step best practice to activate the employee. Firstly, a teaser campaign is used to create excitement prior to launch, reaching out to employees through the various channels available to the employer. Then at launch, a personalized email is sent directly from the new benefits portal with a simple call to action button for the employee to activate their account. Personalized reminder campaigns are then sent to employees who haven't yet activated their account, including messages on how many people have already accessed, which creates that fear of missing out. Now, this simple launch process typically sees 40% activation within the first 30 days, rising to 80% within 90 days. And then over time, the most engaged clients see activation levels up into their late 90%. Now, launches which create an urgency with either a deadline to complete a benefit enrollment or simply entry into a free prize draw for logging in by a certain date are the ones which drive the fastest activation. Now, whilst activation is important, it's actually the ongoing repeat usage which is key to the success of a program. So Benify work with clients to create an annual activity plan which incorporates all the benefits, and we set up communications based on the data in the system. Now, to achieve the best results, we recommend a plan based on a combination of seasonal information, events, and then individual characteristics. Every Benify client also has access to a communications tool, which enables them to segment, target, and personalize communications to their employees. And these communications can be sent via push notification, email, a portal message, or a combination of all three. And the communications can be either reactive or proactive. For example, in Sweden, the system can be set up to send a use it or lose it reminder to all employees with outstanding funds in their wellbeing allowance before the annual deadline. We then have employers driving proactive communications through the portal. A great example of this is those employers who, in the run-up to bonuses and pay rises being received, target employees receiving those bonuses or pay rises with a message about investing the additional funds into their pension. Now, in Sweden alone, this approach helps to contribute to the 600 million SEK, which is invested by employees via the salary sacrifice mechanism every year. And what we see is that our most engaged clients are those who use the communications tool over and above the activity plan in order to segment and target personalized and relevant communications to their employees. Now, data is king, and clients have access to huge amounts of data through our reporting dashboard. And by analysing the performance of communications sent from the portal, a client is able to understand which messages to send to which employees, at what time, and through what channel, driving higher levels of open and click-through rates, resulting in higher levels of engagement and take-up. Another great example is the search data reporting. So front and center within each of the employee portals is a search functionality. Now, not only does this make it convenient for the employee to find what they're looking for, but it also provides clients with insights on any gaps in their benefit proposition, highlighting the search words which don't generate results. Now, by adding a benefit which is highly sought after and then communicating this to employees, we see a much higher level of participation and repeat usage. Just looking at the stats across our portals today, we can see that 43% of users have logged in over the past 30 days. And what you need to remember is that some of these clients go back to 2004. Now, Benify are completely independent, and our focus is on the design, delivery, and support of the solutions we provide to our clients and partners. Over 250 of the 500 benefiers are focused on the innovation and development of our solution, ensuring it stays ahead of the market. And what it also means is that we're agile and flexible enough to work with our clients and partners to develop new solutions to meet their needs. A great example of this is the work we're doing within the provider market, offering our software as a customer activation platform. It's now one of the fastest growing areas of our business, and we have some of the world's largest financial services firms licensing our software in order to engage their end customers. Now, if you're interested in hearing more about this, and you can contact either myself or Lars Frisk, who I think many of you already know, and our details are on the next slide. In terms of Peter, I think were there a few questions that you had? I won't go into our customer activation.
Sure have, yes. Okay. Would you say that there are the different drivers for participant activation in different countries?
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose, in different countries, we have different benefits. And whilst I suppose the Benify's approach is very much to create this globally consistent, immersive experience for employees, we always then see that benefits are very much local with different benefit, structures and setups in different countries. You just have to look, I suppose, at Sweden in terms of the health and well-being allowance, where the employers can grant, up to, I think it's 5,000 SEK to be spent on the health and well-being purchases. We also see employers including digital pay slips, which, if you're receiving a pay slip on a monthly basis, most people tend to go in and check those. So that's bringing people back. If we go to then, in Africa, we've got clients that have used our booking tool in order to be able to drive vaccination bookings through the Benify app. And this is, push notifications are sent out to employees who don't have an email address. So this not only makes the benefit more accessible to the employees, but it also makes it easier for the employer to manage. If we look at LATAM, so many of the benefits within LATAM actually require document approval. So either a birth certificate or marriage certificate has to be provided in order to be able to, activate that benefit. Now, what we've been able to do is completely digitalize that process and remove the need for paper within that region. So yeah, different countries, different drivers completely.
From my experience, the Benify portals are very, very personalized. If it's only my stuff there when I log into my portal, what impact would you say that that have for participants?
Yeah, I mean, going back to Tim's comments around the trust piece, the first thing which we do is actually to have the portal branded to look and feel as if it's run in-house by the employer. Now, most employees trust their employer, so that's a first hurdle to overcome. I think then when we look at the personalization piece, employees are accustomed now to the personalization of those digital native brands such as Google, Amazon, Netflix, and they actually expect the same experience from their employer for their benefits with the immediate personalized and convenient experience. So personalization is really important for employers that want to drive engagement with benefits for their employees. Now, on average, an employee visits our portal about 4.2 times per month, and you can see it's that personalized, relevant experiences and the timely comms that drive that.
Yeah. I mean, Tim talked earlier about gamification and the importance of stimulating participants. You use gamification a lot, I understand. Could you take any examples of that?
Yeah, I suppose a couple of the simplest ways we've talked around is through the launches and having a deadline or that fear of missing out. The prize draws, which are really simple, activation, making it easy to activate with a simple click of a button. I suppose a more complex example would be the work we're doing with one of our provider clients, where they have a mission to drive health and well-being of their customers. So they've licensed our software to use as that customer activation platform. And what we've then done is incorporated the activity tracking functionality into there. And what that means is that when a customer meets a set of activity, a target, they actually receive additional insurance coverage as a result. And then the provider uses the comms tool to segment users and send personalized messages. Again, that fear of missing out and different activity levels.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Brendan, for that inspiring presentation as well. My thoughts now is that we are going to have the same question for all of you. And the first question I would like to ask that Ralph begins to answer on this one, please. What are your main takeaways regarding success factors for participant activations? If you should name 2 or 3, maybe.
Main takeaways. I mean, from today, I could now refer a lot to what I have seen from Tim and from Brandon. I have my own learnings, let's say it like that. For us, it has to be simple. It has to be consistent, and it has to be really clear. Not create super complex game, but there has to be a clear relation between result, what you get, and what you have to do. This is probably my key takeaway and my key success factor. And obviously, it has to be something which is relevant for the client. We do it with risks and wishes and dreams because we learned that these topics are super relevant for all clients. Insurance products are not. But if you look behind what's behind an insurance product, then things get really relevant, and then you can also activate people with it.
So you want to create such a low barrier for informed decision as you possibly can. So making something that's many feel are very, very complex as easy as possible.
Yeah, I mean, partly, obviously, it's nice for the customers to have a feeling they have a dashboard, they see the risks. It gives a feeling of manageable, to make it manageable. You have it under control. Yeah, it's really relating to core fears, existential fears, because it's still your life risks calculated on a neat dashboard, and it brings you into the driver's seat. So there's a lot of psychological effects going on with this kind of dashboards.
But isn't it a commercial side to it as well? There's a famous American insurance salesman who wrote a book back in I think it was the 60s. Frank Bettger said that, you know, and his idea was to you know, show the risks for the client and just talk about the risks and then be quiet. That was the selling technique for insurance back in the day.
Really?
And it still is. And that's almost what you guys are doing, but in a digital way.
Okay, you have to send me the link to this book. I'm really interested in it.
Sure. Frank Bettger, he's a legend.
Say again?
Frank Bettger is a legend.
Yeah, I wasn't aware about that one. Yeah, but I think it's basically what we do.
Thank you, Ralph. Tim, the same question for you. You know, the main takeaways regarding success factors for participant activation. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, close to Ralph's statement just now. Keep it simple, keep it small. That's one. Trigger the behavior. So that's an easy statement, but it's difficult. So think about what kind of behavior would you really want to see, and how do you trigger that specific behavior? So which game elements or which interventions are you setting in? And as I said, keep it simple, keep it small. You know, generally from behavioral change, we know, like BJ Fogg says, it's tiny steps. If you want to lose 30 kilograms of weight, don't set that as a goal. Set that the goal. I want to do sports 2 times this week. That's a goal you can achieve. And then after that, you say, okay, now I want to do 3 times a week. And now I want to lose 1 kilogram in a month. And then you start building that. But I'm aware that most projects want people immediately to get they're asking too much. And if you ask too much, then people drop whatever they do. So keep it small.
Great. And Brandon, you have some time to think about the.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, it aligns with Ralph and Tim just in terms of keep it simple and those triggers behaviors. You know, having that personalized, relevant, and timely experiences, and having those link into, you know, personalization is really simple. Just having somebody's name. Benify do it, you know, with the branding for a client site for the employer, but then somebody's name is bringing a bit of personalization into it, the relevancy, and connecting that into trying to trigger the behavior, and obviously making it timely. So if you know when somebody's bonuses are being paid or they're receiving pay rises, use the tools in order to be able to, you know, trigger those communications and try and change somebody's behavior with, you know, just a small amount being invested into a pension on a monthly basis. So yeah, personalization, relevancy, and timely experiences would be my.
Peter, can I add one more?
Of course.
I would say make it fun. You know, we know that if it's fun, or if people find it funny, that they're more likely to engage in that thing. And you know, there's a good example from Nike that put a gamification concept in. That was a really good one. So what they wanted to increase people to do sports, especially running in this case, and clearly because they wanted to sell more running shoes. So what they did is they introduced a men versus women challenge. So that's 1 month. And then they were tracking how many kilometers did you run and are you male or female? So there was this website, and that was a chip in the shoes. That's what Nike sold at the time. And this was really about the men versus the women. And clearly what you saw is that women, they started, so they were up. And that's where the male says, you know, we can't lose from women. Come on. And that's where they went up. And then the women says, they think they can win. There we go. So this was the men versus women challenge. And actually they made running fun because everybody came home and they synced their chip and just to see if they beat the men or beat the women.
Of course.
Okay. So you can do the same thing here. And that's where people start running figurative speech. Make it fun.
Yeah. Okay, so make it easy, trigger the behavior, and use achievable goals for the participants. We need to have a personalized experience, and we need to drag them in, so to speak, with something, data that they want, data that they need, so that the traffic is there. And we have to make it fun. That's great takeaways from these questions, guys. One more question, a bit shorter one, perhaps. We start with you, Brendan, this time. When you consult, in your case, Tim, or when you implement your features, what seems to be the biggest obstacles?
Sorry, Peter, was that for me?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So when, well, it's a good question. Different organisations will have different challenges and different problems, which they're trying to overcome. I think really, by having a solution which is that personalised and relevant solution and very agile and flexible, we're able to meet those needs of organisations' challenges. And build the solution which is going to engage the employee, the end customer, to actually drive the engagement and activation. A big one which tends to come up is around data and GDPR, but having now, I think we're well past that phase within Benify, given the clients which we have, the global organizations, both private, public sector, and the large, really large financial services providers who use our clients and services, having gone through those processes. So yeah, typically that starts to be a challenge which comes up, but actually very quickly you overcome that.
So we need to engage the employers also sometimes then. I see. Yeah. Ralph, what's your perspective on that question?
It's not an easy one, but for me, generally speaking, as soon as we work directly with customers in self-service solution, it gets much easier. Very often the tricky part are the agents and advisors for us, to have them adapting to new technologies. So this is maybe for us very often the biggest shift, or the biggest barrier is to convince existing sales force to things like doing a risk analysis, which is algorithmic and data driven.
Yeah. Okay, listen, I get signals here that time's almost up, so let's close. I again need to thank you again for tuning in this morning and inspiring us on gamification and participant activation. I see you guys soon. Thank you, Ralph, Brendan, and Tim for that. To sum up a bit, as pension providers, we need to have a plan for participant activation. The activation part, because our industry is low interest, but we are a pillar in society nevertheless. Years ago, there were many in ties giving advice and selling life pensions. Our participants today expect some help to understand and get things done well before retirement as well. There's a lot we can do with the techniques that we have discussed here this morning, helping our participants make informed decisions are profitable and make for pleasant journeys and satisfied customers. If you are more interested in this, and if you want to get in touch with Ralph, Brendan, or Tim, you're of course free to connect with me or them directly as well, of course. Again, thank you so much for listening this morning. It's been a pleasure, and good luck with the activating out there. Thank you.